The rain was coming down in sheets that cold November evening in downtown Chicago, turning the streets into mirrors that reflected the neon signs of restaurants and shops. Through the windows of his sleek black Mercedes, tech mogul Daniel Rodriguez watched as people hurried past with umbrellas and designer coats, their faces buried in their phones. At 42 years old, Daniel had built a software empire worth over $50 million, yet tonight he felt more disconnected from the world than ever before. As his driver navigated through the traffic-clogged streets, Daniel's attention was caught by a figure huddled in the doorway of a closed bookstore. An elderly man with weathered hands held a cardboard sign that was barely readable through the rain. The words, "Anything helps. God bless," were smeared but still visible. What struck Daniel wasn't just the man's desperate situation, but the gentle way he nodded and smiled at every person who passed by, even those who completely ignored him. For reasons he couldn't explain, Daniel found himself asking his driver to pull over. He sat in his warm, leather-seated sanctuary for a moment, watching this stranger who seemed to radiate dignity despite his circumstances. The homeless man appeared to be in his 70s, with kind eyes that reminded Daniel of his own grandfather who had passed away 5 years earlier. That resemblance stirred something deep inside him. Daniel stepped out into the rain, instantly feeling the cold bite through his expensive suit. As he approached, the homeless man looked up with surprise. His name was William, he learned, and he had been living on the streets for 8 months after losing his job as a janitor at a local school. His modest savings had been wiped out by his wife's cancer treatments before she passed away the previous year. What happened next would change both their lives forever, but not in the way anyone might expect. Instead of simply giving William money, Daniel found himself sitting down beside him on the wet concrete, ruining his $3,000 suit. They began to talk, and Daniel discovered that William wasn't just asking for food, he was sharing stories with everyone who would listen. He told Daniel about his 40-year marriage to his beloved Sarah, about the children he had mentored during his decades working in schools, and about the small kindnesses that strangers had shown him during his darkest months. William pulled out a tattered notebook from his coat pocket. Inside were hundreds of names and addresses, written in careful handwriting. These weren't contacts for potential help, Daniel realized. They were names of other homeless individuals William had met, along with details about their situations, their dreams, and their needs. Despite having nothing, William had been keeping track of every person he encountered, hoping to somehow help them when he could. The revelation hit Daniel like lightning. Here was a man with absolutely nothing who spent his time thinking about how to help others. Meanwhile, Daniel had everything yet spent most of his time worried about stock prices and business deals. The contrast was both humbling and inspiring. That night, Daniel didn't just give William money for food. He took him to a nearby diner where they continued talking for hours. William shared his dream of creating a support network for homeless individuals, a way to connect them with resources and help them maintain their dignity. He had been sketching out plans in his notebook, using his knowledge of the people and their individual needs. Daniel was amazed by William's insight and compassion. This wasn't just random kindness, it was a sophisticated understanding of human nature and community building. William had a vision that went far beyond simply getting people off the streets. He wanted to create a family, a support system that would help people rebuild not just their lives, but their sense of purpose and connection. Over the following weeks, Daniel found himself visiting William regularly. He arranged temporary housing for him, but William was more interested in discussing his ideas for helping others. Together, they began developing what would become the Chicago Community Connection, a program that paired homeless individuals with mentors and resources, but also gave them meaningful ways to contribute to their community. The program's unique approach was William's idea. Instead of treating homeless individuals as passive recipients of charity, they were given active roles in helping others. Those who had been on the streets longer mentored newcomers. People with different skills taught classes. Everyone had something valuable to contribute, and everyone was both helper and helped. Daniel provided the funding and business expertise, but William provided something far more valuable, the wisdom that comes from understanding what it truly means to have lost everything and still find reasons to hope. His notebook of names became the foundation for their outreach efforts, and his natural ability to connect with people became the heart of their program. The most shocking twist came 6 months later. During a community gathering for their program participants, Daniel learned something that took his breath away. William hadn't been completely honest about his background. Yes, he had been a school janitor, and yes, he had lost everything caring for his wife. But before that, William had been a social worker with a master's degree in psychology. He had spent 30 years counseling troubled youth and developing community programs before switching to janitorial work to spend more time with his ailing wife and have flexible hours for her care. William had recognized Daniel's emptiness from their very first conversation. His decision to share his notebook and his dreams hadn't been desperate rambling, it had been a carefully crafted intervention. This wise, experienced counselor had seen a successful but spiritually bankrupt man and had known exactly how to reach him. William had been helping Daniel heal from his own invisible wounds, even while sitting in that cold doorway. The Chicago community connection grew rapidly, but its success wasn't measured in typical metrics. Yes, they helped hundreds of people find housing and jobs. But more importantly, they created a network of genuine friendships and mutual support. Daniel found himself learning as much from the program participants as they learned from him. His business success had never given him the deep satisfaction that came from seeing someone regain their confidence or watching a friendship develop between two people who had felt completely alone. William became the program's director and Daniel's closest friend. Their partnership proved that the most powerful solutions come from combining resources with genuine understanding. William's insight into human nature, gained through both his professional training and his personal struggles, guided every aspect of their work. Daniel's business skills and financial resources made their vision possible on a large scale. The program's success attracted national attention, leading to similar initiatives in cities across the country. But for Daniel and William, the real victory was much smaller and more personal. It was the moment when someone who had felt invisible realized they mattered. It was the day when a person who had lost hope discovered they still had something valuable to offer the world. Daniel often reflected on that rainy November evening when he had stepped out of his Mercedes. He had thought he was helping a homeless man, but William had been the one offering the gift. Through his wisdom, compassion, and carefully disguised guidance, William had shown Daniel what it meant to live with purpose beyond personal success. Their story became a testament to the truth that everyone has something valuable to contribute, regardless of their circumstances. William's dignity in the face of loss, his commitment to helping others even when he had nothing, and his wisdom in recognizing and healing Daniel's spiritual poverty created a ripple effect that touched thousands of lives. The Chicago community connection continues to thrive today, built on the foundation that William established with his notebook full of names and his unshakable belief in the power of human connection. Daniel still runs his tech company, but now he measures success differently. His wealth has meaning because it serves a purpose greater than himself. That encounter on a rainy street corner proved that kindness is never about the size of the gift, but about the size of the heart that gives it. William had nothing but offered everything. Daniel had everything but had been giving nothing of real value. Together, they discovered that the most meaningful exchanges happen when we see past someone's circumstances to recognize their inherent worth and wisdom. This story reminds us that opportunities to change lives are all around us, often in the most unexpected places. Sometimes the person who appears to need help is actually the teacher we've been searching for. And sometimes the greatest act of generosity is simply taking the time to truly see and listen to another human being. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories for more inspiring tales of human compassion. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder that every person has value, and that kindness has the power to transform both the giver and the receiver. Together, we can create more connections, more understanding, and more hope in our communities. Remember, you never know when a simple act of attention and compassion might change not just someone else's life, but your own as well.